Let's talk now about Donald Trump's position on a lot of this stuff. For someone who says that he doesn't want to get impeached, Donald Trump is really behaving like someone who is trying to get Democrats to impeach him. We've been talking a lot about the growing demands for Trump's impeachment. We've been talking about Trump's behavior exposed by the Mueller report. We've been talking about the strategy behind impeachment. Does it make sense strategically? We've talked about the ethics behind it. But there is a completely separate issue that is growing here, which is that Donald Trump's actions in the last 2 weeks are starting to force the hands of Democrats who may end up with no credible option but to impeach the president of the United States. And if you're wondering, what has Trump been doing for the last couple of weeks, David? I will tell you what he's been doing. The third article of impeachment against Richard Nixon, I mentioned this in the last segment. We already talked about it. Donald Trump is increasingly sort of in contempt of Congress. Donald Trump has directed his administration straight up to fight every congressional subpoena, to stonewall every request from Congress, and to make it as close to impossible as they can for an actual investigation to take place. Even Nancy Pelosi, who said she's against impeachment, that Trump's not worth impeachment, which angered a lot of Democrats when she said it in, I think it was March. Even Nancy Pelosi said, we have to investigate before we can even say if impeachment is on the table. And Trump is blocking every single request that's part of that investigation. And this is a huge part of why more and more Democrats are now talking about impeachment. I already told you last week, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Elijah Cummings, Maxine Waters, George W. Bush's former speechwriter, AOC, a mix of people in and out of elected office. Now Donald Trump is stonewalling investigations and more names are adding themselves to the list. Congressman Jamie Raskin, current member of Congress, says, I have a hunch that he is moving the whole caucus closer to seeing impeachable offenses. What is Trump stonewalling so far? Trump AG William Barr might not show up to testify. Trump directed all records requests from the Oversight Committee to be fought. This is the job of the Oversight Committee, and the president is obstructing them from being able to do that job. The House Intel Committee is trying to look into Donald Trump's finances. The administration is ignoring all requests. The Justice Department hasn't even responded to document requests. Top Justice Department lawyer John Gore is going to ignore a subpoena to testify. I challenge so-called constitutional conservatives who say they believe in checks and balances put in place by the founders to just denounce this, okay? If you're a Trumpist of moral substance, maybe there are some out there, I want to hear from you. Contact me and tell me you like Trump, you want Trump reelected, you love his tax cuts for the rich or whatever. Tell me that we have checks and balances in this country for a reason and that Donald Trump cannot continue his behavior here. The founders created the People's House to prevent exactly this type of autocratic authoritarian despotism, okay? A despot is a ruler who holds absolute power, typically one who exercises it in a cruel or oppressive way. Trump doesn't actually have absolute power, but unless someone stops him from behaving as if he does, he has effectively, pragmatically, absolute power. And Trump is doing this by saying, screw the law, screw the separation of powers. I'm just not going to let the House do what it was created to do. And so much of what the founders did was meant to stop presidents from being above the law. When the special counsel says we had substantial evidence, we had 11 possible obstruction counts, but it's politically messy to indict a president, that makes the president above the law. When the House does the right thing, they request documents the correct way in order to investigate. And the White House says, nah, no documents, no testimony. That becomes a White House that is above the law. It's not what Madison wanted. It's not what the founders wanted. And this is actually bigger than Trump, which is why I'm sort of waiting, maybe stupidly, maybe naively. I'm waiting for the constitutional conservatives to say, we've had it. Maybe we voted for Trump. Maybe Hillary would have been worse in their eyes, of course. But this is about the foundational principles of the country and whether they matter anymore. The right wants these constitutional fights around like the Second Amendment. Which guns can we have based on the Second Amendment? Forget for a second that we have a constitutional right here that is even more important. And it's about whether the president is totally immune from consequences for their actions. The founders gave us the tools: impeachment, congressional investigations, congressional subpoenas. Trump is ignoring them all. And if he's allowed to do it with no consequences, then he is effectively an unchecked autocrat. I'm ready for the constitutional conservatives to say no more, but I have a feeling I'm going to be waiting around for a long time, and that voting in November of 2020 is going to be a much faster remedy. But I'll say it again. If you're a Trumpist who is ready to take the right moral position and say, this can't continue, checks and balances can't be ignored and flouted in this way, get in touch with me. I want to hear from you. Make sure you're following The David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. We will have a poll related to this before you know it. While you're there, also follow me. I'm on Instagram at david.pakman. We'll take a quick break and be back after this. Support those who support The David Pakman Show, and today that includes our good friends over at BRD Bitcoin Wallet. These guys are awesome, and the BRD Bitcoin Wallet is absolutely perfect for anybody who's getting into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency for the first time, because it was designed with simplicity and ease of use in mind. But you'll also love it if you have experience with Bitcoin. It's an all-in-one app for iOS and Android that lets you buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency using your credit card, lets you store everything on the app for free. You can trade and sell cryptocurrency within the app. And when you use BRD Wallet, you're the only person who has access to your Bitcoin. BRD doesn't store any of your personal information. You don't even have, nor do you need, a username and password on the platform. It's all within an environment that's virtually impossible to hack, so your cryptocurrency is safe. Extremely easy to use. It's how I store my own Bitcoin. I think you'll be impressed with it too. It's the first ever Bitcoin wallet in the iOS App Store, and now they have over 2 million users from more than 170 countries. BRD's mission is to make buying, selling, and storing Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies simpler, more efficient, and more secure, and they've done an awesome job. Check out my interview with Aaron from the BRD team. We had a really interesting discussion about the state of cryptocurrency going forward. You can also download the BRD app for iOS and Android. I've put a link right underneath this video.